Little Grand River Rapids, and they went. Her dad had a trapping cabin there, and they decided to go out and freeload on him, and they didn't have any food for the baby, or they didn't bring any food for themselves. And the old man was not very pleased when he saw this invasion of freeloaders, and so I had to phone somebody over and it was South Dakota, and they went and picked this couple up and took them out. And it was right at freeze up.
No milk for her baby, nothing. No winter clothes. They were going to stay the winter.
I like this one too.
To ask him to tell you the time of these Indian fishermen he had working for them, they always wanted sugar and raisins, and he couldn't figure out what to do with all the sugar and raisins. And he flew over them one time coming in, and they were laying flat in the snow, all drunk.
Dad, tell me the time the Indians you had working for you wanted sugar and raisins.
What?
Do you remember the time that that Indians you had working for you, they wanted sugar and raisins?
Sugar.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was pretty good. Clarence Henry. That was McCusker. It was in the fall. So I brought him in what he wanted. And the next time I came in there to haul the fish, he pointed down to a bottle in the box where I kept the fish, and there was ice there. And he said, "Do you want a drink?" And I said, "No thanks," but he'd already made a batch of home brew.
It isn't quite the way he told it though. It was more than sugar, and he was making
Was there ever a time when you found him laying down in the snow?
drunk.
What?
Did you ever find him laying down in the snow drunk?
No,
Yes.
no, I never had him in there. I never left anybody alone
No, but you
in
came
the
in.
wintertime.
Dad, what about, do you remember the time we went up to McCusker or Musclo, and we flew in, you and me, and we found a boat turned over? We flew over, someone had tipped the boat,
Brian?
No, I don't remember that.
and he was out on an island. We found him on the island.
Oh,
Beecham? Was it?
oh, that was probably Ivan Beecham.
Yeah.
We, he went out to the lake and it was windy and the motor broke down and he drifted to an island, and when I came in I saw this boat tied up to the island there, and I said, "He's not supposed to be there." So after I landed, it was the only boat we had, so I taxied over there and here's Ivan. He's drunk and stranded on an island. And what happened was that there were some tourists in there, and they left that day, and they gave him what they had left in the bottle. Forget what it was. Vodka. So he started drinking this vodka, and he was impaired when when we went out on the lake. Anyway, I brought him back to the shack and he was okay.
What about the time that one of the Indians that was working up there died? Didn't they drown?
Remember that?
Do you remember that?
Drowned?
Remember the guy that drowned?
That's Brian.
Who was that? Brian?
Brian McLean. And he's still there.
Yes.
Yeah.
They never found him.
No. We tried dragging for them and the local people helped out. They tried dragging. And there was a bunch came over from another lake that we dragged and couldn't find them.
He died in the nets, Dad.
Hmm?
He died in the nets.
Not in the net.
Fishing nets.
Not in the net, he said.
Well, I remember the time that I flew in there with you, and we were flying over, and I remember seeing life jackets and seats and things floating in the water. Was that the time?
No, that must have been something else because they never wore a life jacket when they went fishing.
No.
Natives never wore like that.
It was too awkward.
I don't remember anyone being dead when I went up there, but I think the time when I went was when Ivan was drunk. That's what I remember.
Yeah, I remember you were along.
And we flew over and found him on that island.
Yeah,
Yeah. Was that at Musklo or McCusker?
Musco.
Yeah. Do you think that the cabin's still there at Musklo?
Oh, there's a tourist outpost cabin there, camp there now,
Yeah.
green from Red Lake. So
Green is
I'm
good.
sure they would
I think it's Walston.
either tear it down or use it for something.
What about up at McCusker? Remember that cabin?
Oh,
Who built that log cabin at McCusker? No, that was McDowell.
That was Sydney Dean.
well, that was green.
Isn't that Sydney Dean?
No, Mom. When I was at McDowell, that's the one that was way up north, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There was an old log cabin we used to stay in.
Yeah.
Did you build that?
No.
Green built it. He was fishing there and he built it. Actually, and he took me to court for trespassing.
I remember that.
And Fulgren led me astray.
Falgren told you could use it.
He said he owned it. Well, he acquired the fishing license or some deal, but Green still owned the camp.
So they took you to court for trespassing. What happened? What happened with that?
Well, he took me to court in Red Lake, and the magistrate said he couldn't say anything that I did anything wrong, but I had to break the padlock on the door to get in. And we didn't make any money out of that either.
It was not a good fishing lake.
I remember staying there a few times with you. I remember the building was almost falling over.
Well, he damn
It's in
fool.
bad shape.
He built it right on the shore, on the sloping rock shore. And it was nice level ground just above that. Ideal for building, which for some stupid reason he built it right on the shore, on the rock.
It was already a pretty old cabin by the time you were using it.
And he, well, it had been there for a few years.
More than a few years. I remember being in there and sleeping in the bed and looking at the walls, and they were just like, you'd fall out of the bed in the thing. And then I remember there was an old cabin next to it we used as the ice house. You remember that? And it was we had the sawdust and everything in there for the ice in the summer.
yes.
Well,
Yeah.
the store is the ice house,
I do.
and then the other building is for storage.
Do you remember going up there?
Yeah, I do.
You didn't know you went to.
Yeah, I remember going.
But I modified the ice
and I
house.
remember Sydney Lake.
Yeah, I've been
Very
to Sydney.
clearly.
We were in Sydney. We stayed overnight at Sydney.
I built
yeah,
a-
a few times.
I remember Sydney too.
Yeah.
I loved Sydney.
I remember going fishing at Sydney.
I built
Several times.
a wall inside of it, and I filled the space with the sawdust. So it was pretty efficient as a ice house.
I don't use that anymore.
I had to cover the top of the ice with sawdust.
Yeah.
But the Indians took that over, so they're probably living in it. One of them.
Yeah.
Times when I ordered my jacket, they used that free ticket you get, green.